supposed to be thinking about frequency. Frequency is life. Frequency is reality.
And
frequency is matter.
And high frequency. Active auroral research program.
Quick throwback. Do you remember quite a while ago? I'm going to say about 10 years now. We were hanging out at TAFE. We were doing the music course at TAFE. So Johnny and I go way back, all the way till then. But a really big storm came in, and we were really caught off guard because there was no warning. There was no nothing to indicate that a storm would be coming through, or hence they called it a freak kind of hailstorm. We will rebuild was the meme that was going around.
we lost a few deck chairs in that storm.
Yeah, but it was pretty wild because Perth never really gets that sort of thing. You know, we are pretty calm here. We're known for our weather being pretty easygoing, pretty.
Yeah, we always get storms. Get a nice weather, but I think it was March 2010, and I guarantee everyone knows where they were during the great storm of Perth. And I remember the day because not only was it so intense and crazy, and we were all caught and sandbagging up the studios, and then down in getting what was that pub that flooded out? We were at the pub.
It was Fibber McGee's,
and
in Leaderville.
They lost electricity, and they started giving away the beer because all the fridges were off and shit. But the one thing that struck me, and I know struck you, and I think struck a lot of people, was just the feeling and the coloring of this storm. And I think a lot of people, if you think back to when that storm was, you might remember this odd shade of like a turquoise green glow above the clouds, or in the clouds, which just, it felt like something I hadn't seen before.
It was beautiful and scary at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I remember us in the car on the freeway, like marveling at this emerald, almost like Northern Lights looking hue above the clouds. So that was as we were getting pummeled by rain.
Yeah.
And the hailstorm. Yeah.
And I can't remember. It was around. It was around that time. But I think a topic that had come up between us before then, I think a couple of years before, when we had a lot bigger tinfoil hats than we did now. We haven't downgraded our tinfoil hats.
We've actually upgraded now.
Oh, we've upgraded, yeah. Implanted them now.
Yeah, we've got spiritual tinfoil. Yeah.
But something like when this storm broke out, we started thinking, okay, well, first of all, this is a crazy freak storm. Those colours seemed a bit strange. What could it be? Oh, wait. We remember something that came out called HAARP. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program up in Alaska, which was a huge... That was conspiracy's fucking gold mine.
That was a wet dream for conspiracy theorists.
Gold mine.
Yep. Because it was kind of the precursor and such a valuable piece of the overall puzzle. I think with HAARP taken out, and we'll get to this maybe later or maybe in another episode, but with HAARP taken out, this sort of thing doesn't make sense. So I think learning about what HAARP is and what they pioneered is extremely crucial in our understanding anyway of what could be happening.
Yeah, so I want to go on a quick brief history of HAARP. It was a facility up in Gakona, Alaska. It was built in the early 90s, 1992. I think it was built. It was actually the first installment, the first building of HAARP was British Aerospace, actually helped develop the first part of this HAARP facility. And it was very quick. People jumped on it very quickly. It's this huge big facility that had these huge big radio antennas that people had claimed that they were beaming electromagnetic frequencies into the atmosphere and doing stuff. And
people trying to debunk it basically would usually go to the go-to things were, look, they were just conducting research.
Yeah. So a lot of the conspiracy buffs came out and started saying, well, this is a facility that is, for lack of a better word, firing high energy, high frequency radiation, electromagnetic radiation into the atmosphere.
Right.
Which it actually turned out that they were.
Yep.
It was openly admitted. You can even go to the University of Alaska's website that explains. So HAARP's actually part of the University of Alaska's. It's a facility for them, and they actually openly admit what HAARP does, and they beam high energy, high frequency electromagnetic beams into the atmosphere, heating it up for research.
Specifically the ionosphere.
Yes, they heat up the ionosphere so they can research the effects of what happens. Which kind of blew a few people away, because that's what the conspiracy theorists were saying that they were doing, that they were heating up the ionosphere, heating up the atmosphere, effectively manipulating the atmosphere.
Essentially, the potential to manipulate the variables that create weather.
Yes. And like all this information, like, I mean, this stuff's out there. You can straight up for the Wikipedia page. That shows what HAARP as a facility is capable of and what it was doing.
Do you mind if I cut in for a sec? Cut to 2010, where coincidentally, I also happened to stumble on a couple of anomalies that was showing up in the Bureau of Meteorology's radar, which I thought was an isolated thing at the time. I think I saw something around Serpentine that was posted by a friend of mine on Facebook. But at the time, I didn't really draw any distinct correlation between anything. I thought it was just isolated here. But it turns out that a couple of people have captured these same radar anomalies occurring on the Bureau of Meteorology around Australia. But I noticed that interesting correlation between the storm that we happen to have and the year that those kind of started popping up. Now, whether or not it's because I paid more attention that year, not sure, but it seemed to really crop up around that 2010 was a very pinnacle year for that.
So I mean, when you showed them to me, I thought they were Photoshop.
Yeah,
I thought, someone's done a good Photoshop job on that.
Yeah.
But no, surely enough, it was actually being recorded on the Bureau of Meteorology's radar. I think you can go back and timestamp those dates on the Bureau itself and see them. Yep.
So they for people that haven't seen it or have no idea what the fuck we're on about, basically a series of spiral-like radar, how do you call it, readings? I guess radar readings were appearing around Australia that did not look like natural weather formations. In fact, they look quite geometric, quite calculated. You know, they were definitely shapes that shouldn't really be seen at all. So basically a lot of rings, a lot of concentric spirals started appearing around the Bureau of Meteorology, which is kind of coincidental that we suffered that storm around that year. But like I said, you know, correlation, causation, we can't say for sure that they're related, but these are very... Look at this one here, if you want to click on that one. This was one of the shapes that was captured, and these were happening all around Australia around 2010.
Yes, a lot in 2000. And again, for anyone that's looking at these images, they're not Photoshop, they are real. You can search this stuff. You can find videos of people actually using their phones to film the Bureau of Meteorology's website. You know, this stuff actually happened. This stuff was going on, primarily in 2010. And I think what the reasoning behind this podcast now is, I think a lot of people might have seen our Instagram stories. We've had a good old laugh about it because this stuff, it still goes on. There is still these anomalies on the radar.
Yep, to this day,
right now.
Yeah, right now.
I mean, right now on the screen in front of me, it's only small, like they've sort of died down. But they're definitely with some very prominent, these arcs they only sort of show up over the land, but they do not originate from the center of the Serpentine radar, which is the center of the crosshairs here. Some people have said it might be coming from Garden Island. I've done a bit of my own triangulation, and it looks like it's coming from a bit behind Garden Island. But some friends of mine that do work in the military, some of them say it might be some actual radar, a harmonic, an interference from some other military radar. And just the way that the spacing and the movement of these patterns just seems so perfect, but completely unnatural. It's not natural. It's not some weather glitch. It's not it's not a glitch from the Serpentine radar itself.
Right. Yep. So to fast forward a little bit, I went basically through a little bit of a rabbit hole. I started looking at these locations. I started looking into areas like it really started with Pine Gap for me. Like for me, the idea that could there be other interests, perhaps another country like the US that have bases here that we're not aware of. Could they be in operation around Australia? It's a very big fucking continent, right? So I started randomly looking up bases like, Pine Gap, and it led me to another one that people have really touted as being a base that is operating something similar to HAARP, which is the Harold Holt Facility in Exmouth. I didn't want to believe it. I thought when I saw the images from Harold Holt, I thought that can't be real. It's something that perfectly geometric and, dare I say, occult looking is basically there, with the 13 towers and the perfect kind of hexagon, I think it is. But it got me thinking, like, who is behind that? It says Harold Holt Facility. It's based in Exmouth. What was the inception of that place? Like, how did it start and things like that? That's what I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and then I found out a couple of things, which I'm not sure if. So Johnny's bringing up the actual.
This is the Harold Holt Facility.
The Harold Holt Facility.
An aerial footage of it. You see a nice. So it's consistent of 13 towers, with an inner hexagon and an outer hex. Is it hexagon?
Yeah, it's a hexagon.
Hexagon. When the whole HAARP thing happened, and when the Perth storm happened, and it sparked our interest in this these facilities and stuff again, it led us onto Pine Gap, which we learned was a very US operated. I think it's a joint US Australian operated.
That's right. And then they also had
it's like a spy base,
basically a spy base for intelligence. And then I found out that Pine Gap had a really big role in the Iraq War. They were doing a lot of intel for the Americans during the Iraq War.
Yep.
And that was a base that's basically operational, but like we don't really know what's being carried out there.
It was in 1963. The US military came into Australia and said, we want to build a telecommunications base. And Australia went, sure. Okay. Build this weird demonic looking fucking radio tower telecommunications base here in the northwest part of Western Australia.
Go ahead, just open up some portals.
Just go ahead. They're like, but if you can name it after our Prime Minister that drowned and disappeared, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, Harold Holt went missing. Huh?
Yeah, Harold Holt. So this base in Exmouth is a US. It's a United States military facility. It was built by the United States. It's run by it's operated by the United States. I think I don't want to can't verify, but I think it had a part to play in a lot of the Apollo moon missions as well.
Okay.
A lot of the being the southern hemisphere telecommunications.
That's right.
It was able. So when the United States was out of range of the Apollo space missions, this facility allowed them to keep communication. So we're talking a pretty pretty big, important facility that was built in the 60s. Here in Australia, American run.
American run. There was nothing really Australian about this base at all. Even when it was built, it had nothing really. I randomly was looking at... Basically, in 2014, HAARP allegedly closed down.
Yes.
And for a lot of, I guess, the conspiracy realm, they were skeptical that it closed down. But, but it changed hands. It was simply undergoing a kind of a renovation, you could say.
Yes.
Right? And then out of the shadows emerged this company.
So we found out the facility shut down in 2014.
And this is the Alaska one, by the way. This has nothing to do with Harold Holt.
This is Gakona, Alaska, HAARP, the high frequency active oral research program. Fuck, I hate that name. I'm just going to call it HAARP.
It's a tongue
tinfoil hatters can rejoice. So we started looking into what's going on in HAARP. We wanted to know, is HAARP still running? You know, a lot of these anomalies seem very HAARP-like. Is it possible that HAARP could be involved in what's happening in Australia? And we found out that it did close down.
We find out in 2014 it closes down. That reignites the conspiracies that it hasn't really closed down, right? So I guess in that gap was a very interesting time, and I was really curious about, like, what exactly happened in that gap, and did it change hands? Did it simply get bought over or given to someone else to take over?
Well, okay, for me right now, because I've been getting so worked up in this, I'm starting to lose my timeline in where all the information came from, because we've been going rabbit hole. We've been rabbit holing this so much that I've been losing sleep over it.
Yeah, the past week I've just been fucking balls deep.
Yeah,
balls deep.
So just disregard my lack of personal timeline.
Okay.
Because I just want to get to the nitty gritty of it.
Do it.
So we've part of it, we wanted to find out, what's going on with HAARP. We wanted to know, what is this base in Exmouth up to? Part of the conspiracy of HAARP was that they were able to control the weather, and they were able to manipulate the atmosphere and manipulate the ionosphere. It came out that there were some US patents floating around, which you can look up yourself. Just as I'm talking, I'm going to bring it up, the US Patent Office, that a company called APTI developed. The patents were passed on to a company called E-Systems. Now, E-Systems was actually running the HAARP facility. So, and passed on. When the HAARP facility closed down in 2014, the patents that E-Systems owns were purchased for the cost of $2.3 billion by a company that I had never heard of before this. And I feel so dumb that I'd never fucking heard of it, because I know me and my military. I love my military.
Yeah, same.
Back then was the fourth largest military contractor in the world. They're now the third. Behind Lockheed Martin and Boeing is a company called Raytheon, who just surpassed British Aerospace themselves as now the third largest military contractor in the world. Mm-hmm. So this company purchased these patents off E-Systems. Do you want to explain the patents?
The patents really do surround things like weather manipulation, even playing with things like lasers, gamma rays, creating, nuclear-sized explosions without the nuclear radiation fallout.
Yeah, that is my favorite. I'm just gonna pull up the patents here for you.
These are the patents that were bought by Raytheon.
So I'm gonna skip. I mean, we've got these patents here. I'm gonna zoom in a bit for the camera here.
Let's read about 2 or 3 out, just really quickly.
Okay.
Where can you find this information?
The US Patent Office?
Yeah.
the US Patents Office.
The US Patent Office. This is public information.
Yeah, so this page itself is kind of I want to not say a underground page, because, again, people don't want to really know this information. Ignorance is bliss. One of my favorites is the patent for artificial ionospheric mirror composed of a plasma layer which can be tilted, which to me is a big fucking space mirror, which allows it
I'm going to read this one out here. US patent 4999637, my favorite. Creation of artificial ionization clouds above the Earth. So, just a quick note, I know this is branching out a little bit, but they have been pioneering things like cloud seeding, artificial rain, things like that have been pioneered since World War II. This is not a new thing. Like, they have been able to create cloud cover for a long time.
Yes, so there's a lot of confusion with cloud seeding, because cloud seeding is actually, let's say, seeding an existing cloud. By everyone knows cloud seeding is.
Yeah,
fuck off. Actual creating artificial clouds, like actually generating clouds. Yes.
Yeah. And that's a whole different ball.
That's a whole different thing. So, and that patent 4999637, I've already searched it before. The US Patent Office. Here it is. Creative artificial ionization clouds above the Earth. The patent's right here.
Yep. Freely available for anyone to look up.
Assignee APTI Incorporated, May 14th, 1987.
Yep.
And again, it's my knowledge that patents are for products and things that actually
they're
exist.
ready.
They're ready to go.
They're not ready to roll.
They're not concepts. They're not theories.
For the most part, they're ready to go. Yep. Yeah. And now when Raytheon did buy that batch of patents, was it not the 10 millionth patent to be signed? No.
No.
Was that something else?
No. I found that on later that Raytheon was actually awarded the 10 millionth patent. They actually sat down with Donald Trump in an office, got a nice big certificate, nice big photo, very official, very beautiful. But that was actually a couple of years afterwards. So I don't actually know if that was part of this purchase.
That's good. So we are actually correcting ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could have been. I don't know if that was this purchase or not. Yep. I'm sure a company like Raytheon purchases a lot of patents. I mean, let's not forget that Raytheon, started off as a cathode ray tube company, TVs, building and small radio electronics. 1922, and now they're purchasing and developing super high tech spyware. Telecommunication stuff. They're like fucking Stark Industries. They help develop like the AIM-120 Sidewinder, the HAARP missiles, the fucking any missile that drops on fucking any country in the world probably has a big Raytheon sticker on the side of it. When Iron Man is stuck in the desert and this missile lands next to him, it's got Stark Industries on the side of it.
I haven't seen Iron Man.
Raytheon is like Stark Industries.
Yeah, they've made a lot of missile and offensive technology. A lot of high tech stuff. Now, just to reiterate, what year was that?
1987.
So these aren't like new patents.
I was 3 years old. They're
experimenting with ionization clouds, generating all this shit, plasma weapons, all this stuff.
Space mirrors,
fucking with the ionosphere. And this is the 80s. These papers were made in the 80s.
Yeah. So, okay, now let's just jump to the kicker.
All right.
So, in searching in all this HAARP information, again, I don't know our personal timeline of discovering this information because we're just rabbit holing. So we find out that Raytheon had very much purchased these patents of E-Systems, which were running the HAARP facility. Whether or not they were for research purposes, the patents exist for this, I want to say, sinister sounding technology.
Yeah.
And if anyone in this current day and age, in the year 2020, can do that kind of shit, it's going to be a company like Raytheon.
Like Raytheon, yeah. Just quickly, so for anyone that's kind of saying the idea of geo-engineering or weather weapons is fairy tale, shut up!
Shut up. Okay.
Because it's real.
Directed energy weapons, I'm going to address this quickly, exist. Directed energy weapons such as lasers that can shoot missiles out of the sky. exist. They're developed by companies like Raytheon on small scale, things that can sit on the front of battleships, things that can sit on the back of Humvees, stuff that you can put inside a drone.
Yeah.
Directed energy weapons exist.
DEWs exist. Yeah.
We are not talking about directed energy weapons. We're talking about high frequency, high energy.
Yeah.
Over the things that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah. I think it's indistinguishable from naturally occurring things. That's how sophisticated it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the company Raytheon. This is Raytheon, who we are. Their first headline is Raytheon and UTC to merge. So United Technologies corporate. Do I agree?
Wow, that's a massive
Cautionary statement regarding forward-looking statements. Additional information where to find it. Do I accept?
Yeah, just accept.
I'm going to accept Raytheon's terms and conditions.
Yeah, just sell yourself.
Defining the future of aerospace and defense. So, United Technologies is merging with Raytheon. I guess another tech company. I didn't really actually want to click on that. I want to skip right to my favorite page, the Raytheon electronic warfare page. Strength across the spectrum with their nice frequency spectrum. I love that image. You know, it's something you'd see on a bloody SoundCloud page. Their mission statement: turn the lights out on your enemy. Operate unimpeded in the modern threat environment. To do that, you need to control the electromagnetic spectrum.
Holy shit.
That's fucking good. But yeah, directed energy weapons exist. They use lasers inside ships, vehicles, planes. Directed energy weapons exist. But Raytheon, again, we just saw have these patents developed by the company operating out of HAARP. Where the bomb dropped for us, where the Bureau of Meteorology dropped for us.
The truth bomb.
Is we found out that Raytheon is the company that owns and operates the Harold E Holt Facility here in Exmouth, Western Australia.
Shit!
As a proud industry leader in defence mission support, Raytheon Australia's Harold E Holt team are responsible for providing operations, maintenance and support services to the Naval Communications Station, which is a nice public mission statement.
Yeah, that's really where the ribbon was tied for me, where I went, holy crap. So something that I thought was purely out there in Alaska, out there in the US somewhere, these US contractors, is actually a couple of Ks north from here.
Sitting in our own backyard. And again, you know, people... And it's fair. It's a fair argument to say, they're just doing research.
Yeah, research.
Well, okay. It's fair to say that they are just providing communications. They're sitting in our backyard.
Yeah.
Now, this is Raytheon. Again, it's a company that I'd barely heard of before. And I feel stupid that I'd never heard of this company before.
Same here.
An article came out in the New York Times back in April 4th, 1995, talking about anyone can argue that this Harold Holt facility that's run by Raytheon is purely a telecommunications facility to aid the US and the Royal Australian Navy. But at the same time, we've just shown and proved that there is this company that has ties to this facility in Alaska.
Direct ties.
Direct ties.
Direct fucking ties.
That now own the patents. It was 1995. They purchased a cash purchase from E-Systems for $2.3 billion to purchase these patents that allow for, you know, we saw weather modifications, fake nukes, space mirrors.
Yeah.
Shit that we wouldn't even...
sorts of shit.
Yeah.
We can't even, imagine what they're really doing up there.
Yeah, this is a company that is beyond our comprehension of capabilities. You know, okay, yeah, fair enough. Let's argue that they're just running telecommunications. We're talking the third largest military contractor in the world that had their hands in this high-tech weaponry, high-tech gadgets, high-tech shit. They probably have our Telstra Optus networks tapped. I wouldn't put it past them.
Probably. Well, didn't they pioneer a lot of smartphone spying technology as well?
The history of Raytheon, the history of this company is there.
Shady,
it's
man.
fucking out there. It is so crazy. That connection we found between this company Raytheon and the HAARP facility, that just made us jump. We were just, holy shit.
I got goosebumps when I read that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
because my intuition was right.
Yeah. And a lot of people, have pointed out this Exmouth facility as a weather manipulation facility.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether, damn the pun, whether or not they are a weather manipulation facility, or whether or not they can manipulate the weather from this facility. We're talking about a massive military contractor sitting in our backyard with the technology, the know-how to do this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to hammer back one more link that just blew my mind.
Okay. Hey.
So in March 2018, the Jindalee operational radar network that we have here in Australia, the over the horizon radar network, with an outpost in Western Australia and the other outpost in Queensland. The company British Aerospace Systems, the company that helped develop HAARP, the company that helped build HAARP in Alaska, they were awarded the $1.2 billion contract to upgrade this facility in Australia. And I was just like, okay, well, that's one tie. That's British Aerospace. And it was also announced that the partner for British Aerospace in this upgrade of the Jindalee operational radar network was none other than Raytheon. Raytheon and British Aerospace, so we already showed had connections back in HAARP, are working together here in Australia.
So, yeah, I mean, that is a small, I guess, snapshot into some of the ties that we found. And I think when you really put it in front of you like that, and you really do see the web, the tapestry unfolding about these companies being involved, it really doesn't seem so far-fetched that some sort of potential for weather modification exists within our country. And it really does seem to me, I'm going to throw it out there, it seems to me like Australia kind of sold its soul to these military contractors.
Australia being such a young country, we are the little bitch to the world.
Oh, for sure.
Australia has always been the little bitch to the United States. We've always been under the control of the Commonwealth, British,
the Crown. Yeah.
And especially in this day and age, in the 2000s, going in the 2020s now, with the advancement of this technology, the advancement of the power that these companies have, they could get away with murder. These companies sitting at the top, and here is one company that has ties to this supposed weather modification facility that openly, publicly has ties to patents that show that they can manipulate the weather. A facility that openly admitted that they were heating up the ionosphere, that they were manipulating they were fucking with the frequencies of the planet. Well,
the big word is geo-engineering. That is what all of this is. It is modifying the atmosphere to create certain weather.
There is a company out there with the potential to artificially generate these frequencies, the natural phenomenon of electromagnetism. And that's something I love learn. I love thinking about the whole electromagnetic spectrum, how you can alter the frequency of electromagnetism to go from visible light up to ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma, just on a frequency by generating this energy.
And how all our bodies are energy.
Yes, and if you take the the electromagnetic frequency spectrum's all the way down low that it plays into the earth, our brainwaves, our bodies. But somewhere between ultraviolet and our bodies is this, what I want to call artificial electromagnetic radiation that's somehow used in technology, somehow used for technology. You know, we're talking radio waves, ultra high frequencies, very high frequencies. Our Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz frequency.
Bluetooth.
Starlink, 14.4 gigahertz frequency. And when you start thinking about whether these frequencies, I mean, that's where I get lost. I don't know whether these frequencies exist naturally in the world. I'm talking about these, the whole from radio all the way up to what we use as Wi-Fi, and a little bit beyond, just before infrared frequencies. Is that a naturally occurring electromagnetic part of the spectrum, or is it all artificial? And what effect is that having on the natural phenomenon of electromagnetism by artificially generating these frequencies? And what effect is that having on the planet by, firing these frequencies into the atmosphere and heating it up?
Yeah, okay. It's a relevant concern, yeah.
You want to talk about climate change? Talk about the people that are out there actually fucking with the climate for research.
Who will probably remain completely unaccountable.
No, because it's a conspiracy.
All above board, yeah. Exactly, because you're too busy calling it a conspiracy.
It's a fucking conspiracy.
It's ridiculous.
Drop the fucking word, people. Drop the word and look it up.
It's crazy. It's so dismissive. It's become an insult. It's a dirty fucking word.
Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is fucking stupid.
The red pill is way more fun.